All right. Welcome to another edition of Marketing Teaching Moment. Today we'll talk about how to build yourself as a trusted authority overnight, as in 90 days or less. I have certainly done it in my market a couple of times in different niches, and have done it countless times with different clients. So certainly I've got some case studies and credibility to share with you on this. Now, as always, if you're just joining me, if you can't hear, if you're watching this, you can't hear, you've got to crank up your volume and everything will be cool. Now, for those of you joining me for the first time, it's going to be a little weird because I'm actually starting this call first for my coaching clients who are listening on a bridge line, or some of them on the phone lines, dialing in from all over the world. So let me make sure that we take care of them. You're going to hear that startup. Then we're going to come back to the lesson. And then for those of you listening or watching to the live broadcast, that will be the end of the story for you as I switch over to the coaching call for my actual clients. So let's see. For those of you who have been here before, all right, what do you think is going to happen next? Come on, anybody. What's going to happen next? Lisa, what do you think is happening next? Anybody has an idea? Come on, what's going to happen next? I'll give you a clue. It's going to be a sound. All right. There we go. A little quiet today. Let's see if I can crank it up for a moment. There we go. You hear that? Austin Powers, the International Man of Mystery. Hey, Haley, good to see you here. All right, we just met online, and there you are. All right, enough about that. Welcome to another edition of Action Coaching Call with yours truly. Adam Urbanski, also known as the Millionaire Marketing Mentor, and by so many of you called so many different affectionate things, as in the irreverent Reverend Dr. Professor, Ninja, Jedi, Sensei, and Samurai of all things marketing and persuasion. Super excited you are here. Once again, we're going to talk about building your overnight trusted authority brand rapidly, as in quickly, as in fast, because overnight doesn't quite communicate all those things specifically enough, right? Yeah, I know, I'm being a little redundant. So if you're dialing in the coaching call and you're listening on a Facebook Live, you may hear the duplication of sound, so you may want to drop one of those lines. Either mute your bridge line or phone line and just keep your Facebook Live, or just mute your Facebook Live and just listen over the call. Whatever works for you where the sound isn't all shifted, all right? So let's see. I've got, in terms of your questions, star two to raise your hand. And I've got somebody that's anonymous. I'm not quite sure who that is. And then I've got Dr. Ida already in the queue. So star two to raise your hand. And my anonymous just disappeared. Not sure what happened. And then if you're listening online, there should be a box for you to type in questions. And I see you've got Joy from Newport Beach. What's the length of this meeting? Up to 2 hours. All right. So about the first 20, 30 minutes, there's training. And that's where we end the broadcast live for your actual action coaching call, up to 2 hours. I will stay pretty much usually as long as it takes to get all our coaching out of the way. All right. So again, star two to raise your hand. All right. So Marilyn, I thought that was you. All right. Perfect. So we'll get to you first, and then Dr. Ida. Anybody else? Star two. All right. So for today's marketing teaching moment, let's get right to it. All right. How do you build your overnight trusted authority brand? How do you do that? All right, Margot, want to let me know? Michelle, good to see you here. Linda, no talk. Tandy, Bo, who else did I see here? Dave, oh my gosh, Dave, late for you. What is it, like midnight in UK? Perfect. You know, I actually wanted to talk about something else before I talk about the brand, but probably no time to get into it. You know what? Let me talk about it. You know, I'm all about speed. I like fast results for myself. I like results fast for clients. You know, in fact, in our Revenue Rev Up Intensive program, our motto is we only have one speed, results. And I'm addicted to results. I love creating tangible outcomes that are positive, that are measurable. And, you know, because life is too short for anything else. Life is absolutely positively too short. You know, last weekend, we said goodbye, Bo and I said goodbye to one of our longest friends here since we came to the United States 7, 8 years ago. And I've got to be honest with you. I don't deal much with death, right? That's not my business. In fact, last I was really that close. Well, a couple of times. Last was about 20 some years ago. I'm sorry, not 20 some years, almost 20 years ago. My dad passed away unexpectedly. That shook me to the core and really kind of left me shaken for a couple of years. Nancy, good to see you here. Kelsey, how are you doing? And then Bose, my wife's mom passed away, but that was expected. She was sick for a pretty long time, and it was kind of a blessing that she no longer had to suffer. But this is someone who is my age, and definitely has a lot more life left. That kind of was taken prematurely after a long battle with cancer. Actually, not even that long. So it kind of took me, shook me to the core, and reminded me how precious life is, how little time we have to worry about BS. To not do what we want to do, to not, create the impact that you want to create, to not make the money that you want to make, to not be with the people that you want to be with. So I think I want to remind you that to start with before I even get into the core lesson, all right? And when it comes to this building an overnight authority brand, actually going to be 4 lessons, all right? So number 1, I'm going to talk about mindset a little bit. Number 2, I'm going to share with you 10 authority accelerators that you can easily implement very quickly. Number 3, I'm going to talk about some jumpstart techniques. So aside from accelerators, which are more conceptual, jumpstart techniques are things that you can specifically do right now today to start growing more authoritative brand and image. And number 4, I'm going to talk about a couple of approaches that are like a double-edged sword, because they work for you and against you depending on how well are you aware about how well are you familiarized with them, and how well can you actually use them, right? It's like any weapon. If you use it well, it can serve you well, but if you're not very familiar with it, you can actually cause injury to yourself with it. So this is that kind of approach. So let's talk about mindset. I truly believe that without visibility, there is no credibility. Without credibility, there is no authority. Without authority, you're going to always struggle to attract clients. You'll always be chasing people rather than having them come to you. There is absolutely, positively no other way for people to come to you except for you must be positioned as an authority that can solve their problem in their eyes. If you're not, nothing else happens. Now, you can be a doctor, right? And they may not like you, but they definitely trust you that you can solve a specific problem. And even then, they might question you unless you really have high level of specializations. Even then, they can question you and go and get second and third and fourth opinion for some folks in really serious situations, right? But you get the point. This whole trust thing, like they got to know you for the long time, that goes out the window. The minute you have a serious problem, the moment you find someone who perceivably can address that problem, you automatically start having conversations with them, and you're not necessarily concerned, like, do I really like them? Look, if they can save your freaking life that very moment, you couldn't care less if you like them or not. Nobody's asking you to marry them. Nobody's asking you to, date them or have dinners with them. All you're asking them is like, save me from the pain, deliver me to the pleasure. All right. Now, the like factor is definitely an added perk. If you like someone you work with, you will definitely increase your chances doing business with them, or them doing chances with you longer and faster. But it's not a requirement. Often people make it like it's a requirement. It's not. A couple other things. Realize this. Authority, all authority, is number 1, manufactured, and number 2, assigned. All right? You want to write this down and you want to commit this to memory. Don't ever this is the double-edged sword. Don't ever get swayed by someone having authority over you. Unless it's a legal situation in some case, right, where, someone has legal power over you at the moment by laws of situation or country or place or whatever. In every other situation, authority is manufactured and assigned, meaning someone has created some sort of image, some sort of perception that appears to have more power as compared to others, right? More authority, more knowledge, more expertise, more power. And the only way they're able to do that is you actually give them permission to have that extra authority, extra power, extra sway over you. That's it. You know, celebrities have no more brains, talent, or power than you. The reason they stand out and the reason they make obscene amount of money is because we assign to them the celebrity and authority factor. All right? And authority in business has no special powers to make 10x the money other people make, except for the fact that we agreed, you know, they seem to be a little bit better at what they do. And we prefer to do business with them because everybody says they're an expert at authority. So, and they charge more. Well, it comes with the territory. That's just how it is, right? We assign that value. So again, it's a double-edged sword. Now, in number 4, I will talk about this imposter syndrome or fraud factor. It stops a lot of people from stepping into the spotlight and positioning themselves as an authority. And in fact, current existing experts and authorities have vested interest to keep you, if you are newer, from infringing on our territory. So we often, on purpose, maybe unconsciously, but still somewhat on purpose, deliver information that actually stops you from moving forward. This is really, really important for you to get, and it's going to get very clear in a moment. We may teach experts and gurus spelled, you know, G-U-U or U-U-S, as in false prophets, may actually teach, like, let me help you grow your business. But underneath, there is a hidden message that keeps you exactly where you are, and it serves them very, very well. Why? Well, because if you're not at the same position that they are at, you're going to keep coming to them and pay them rather than just saying, you know what, I got it. I don't need you anymore. All right? So that's number 1. All right? Just really getting this, that nothing happens without your permission. No one is better than you. It's all positioned. It's all manufactured. Actually, let me speak to that. Now, talk to that a little bit in number 3. I know what, I'll come back to that number 3. I want to talk about sleaze factor, but I want to come back to that. So let's talk about authority accelerators. All right, I'm going to give you 10. How many? Somebody type in 10 in the comments. I want to see if you guys are actually listening. Christine, Isabel, Ann. All right, let's talk about number 10. 10. How many accelerators will I give you? All right, somebody's listening. Jean is here. Melon is here. Perfect. Nancy. All right. Michelle. Awesome. Awesome people, by the way. You know, I'm so grateful for this group, for the Fastest Path to Cash community, but that's on the top of all my client programs. You guys are absolutely awesome. So thanks for being here. All right. I want you to pay attention to the numbers. I, on purpose, numbered them in a specific sequence because to me, number 1 is most important. Number 10, which I just realized I actually think I only have 9. Never mind, I've got 10. There we go. There we go. I don't remember. They go in sequence that I think they're of their importance. And Ann Bennett, you may hate me for this, but hey, I got to roll with my punches. All right. Number 1 is visibility. You must be visible, but it doesn't have to be like visibility on TV. You don't have to be on daily news. You have to be visible to your particular audience. So look, the world at large has no idea who I am. However, members of my community or communities know very well who I am, right? Like our Fastest Path to Cash. Notice I was missing for about a week. I'm not as active when I make a post. Some people kind of not like, yeah, I've missed you. Like, where have you been? I'm visible in my audience, in my community. If I am not there, my community starts noticing like, hey, I haven't heard from this guy in a while. Where is he? So you must be visible. All right. And by the way, that's so easy to do. I'm going to give you some jumpstart tools in a moment. Number 2, frequency is everything. So if you visible once, right, you got written up in an industry magazine, well, great visibility, and then they've never heard from you again. They've never seen you again for the next 12 months. It's useless. Absolutely, positively does you nothing. All right. With that comes number 3, which is consistency. So being frequent, like as in they see you every day of the week for 7 days, and then they don't see you for another year. Again, kind of useless. That's not real credibility. That's not real authority. That's a car that sputters. It's a false start. You get going and then you fizzle out. You get going and you fizzle out. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. Even for established, I've been in this business for what, 18 years? It's still challenging sometimes, especially if you want to run lean, mean machine and don't have a lot of stuff and a lot of team, right? Sometimes it's challenging. Life gets in the way. So the top ones were number 1, visibility, number 2, frequency, and number 3, consistency. So, all right, let me move on for now. Number 4, usefulness. You may be visible, you may be there frequent, and you may be consistent, but if you're annoying as heck and you don't provide any value, useful value to your audience, whether it's actual content that they can take and do something with and benefit from immediately, or useful as in you're a fantastic comedian and you make people laugh, which is still immediately usable to them. If it's not useful, if it has no usefulness factor, well, it doesn't score you any point. With usefulness comes number 5, and that is uniqueness. Again, I'm going to give you some specific jumpstart tools, how to actually be unique, even in a super busy, crowded tool, all right? Crowded market. Number 6, price. To me, that is one of the fastest ways to manufacture authority. In fact, we do it all the time with clients, and they find it amazingly simple how elastic price points are. They can usually double, triple, in some cases 4x. In some more rare cases, we can as much as 10x the prices very, very quickly. And what my clients typically realize, and you will realize it as well if you do it the same way, that the fear, the resistance of the market, the fact that people will not buy from you, that it's much harder to do with at higher prices, is actually most of the time false. What a lot of people find is that just as hard as it was to sell something for $200, it's not any harder to sell similar thing for $20,000, and they get to deal with a lot more receptive and congenial and friendly and successful audience. Right? It's pretty amazing. So price is big. Again, I always refer to this book. In fact, look, I refer to it so often. I actually have it on my desk. It's not even back on a bookcase yet. Influence. I think I talked about it last week too. Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini. And he talks about this whole experiment on pricing and how high a price equals perceived quality. It has to do with us being super busy and not having the time to research different reference point. So therefore, we make a mental shortcut. Higher price equals better quality. Lower price, lower quality. Therefore, if somebody charges more, they must be better at what they do. Their expertise level must be higher. They must have more experience. They must have been in business for a longer time, etc., etc. All right. Number 7, results or case studies. All right. So if you have results, if you have case studies, by all means, use them, publish them. Now, notice it's number 7. So essentially, visibility, frequency, and consistency, being visible to someone and being in touch with them on regular, consistent basis over a longer period of time has better chances of them thinking of you as an authority and trusting you than you publishing case studies. Does that make any sense logically? No, but we are not logical creatures. And yet every person starting out thinks, well, how do I start out if I have no case studies? You don't freaking need them. That's the beauty of it. You usually have at least one case study, and that is your own story. All right, I'll talk about that in a moment. Number 8. I always have a hard time like managing the numbers and fingers. Number 8 is accessibility. Accessibility. This is really interesting because as an authority, you want to be real and touchable, but not accessible. Big difference. You want to be real and touchable, but not accessible. And by the way, you can consider this as manipulative, or you can consider this as a philosophy for doing business. For me, I chose to adopt it from one of my mentors as a philosophy of doing business. Look, I'm touchable right now. I'm relatable. I'm real. This is my office. This is my shirt. All right. This is my fluctuating camera. Look at it. And make it wave sometimes. I don't know why. shaking on a desk. Anyway, this is as real as it gets, right? I am touchable. You can ping me in Facebook group. We can exchange messages, but I am not accessible, as in you're going to be extremely hard pressed to find my email. In fact, you can email me. I never respond. There is no email that I monitor. We have a phone number that's displayed on our websites, and we do monitor that, and calls get returned, emails get returned, but you never get access to me this way. That is reserved for paying clients. All right, that's big difference. So why? Because as experts, whether you sell services or know-how or expertise, that is your intellectual property. Your time, your know-how, your expertise, your way of delivering services, that is your intellectual property. That is the stock that you sell. So if you make it too accessible, it immediately becomes lower priced. It becomes commoditized. So it's very important. Now, again, there's a lot of trickery to this, if you will, in terms of how to set up your business so you can be of service to a lot of people, just like I want to be, and I am. And I've done this successful for 18 years, reaching a lot of people, coaching a lot of people, communicating with a lot of people, building relationships at scale, and yet always having that not quite accessible image or persona, if you will. Again, to me, this is kind of how I live. And that just extends, I have my cell phone, which I often talk about it. Look, my cell phone, if you ever catch my cell phone ringing when I'm in the meeting, I think it happened once actually this week. I had a meeting with a client and my cell phone went off. It was left on and my daughter was messaging me. You'll never hear my cell phone go off. For one reason, it's never turned on. It's on airplane mode. But number two, no one gets my cell phone number. No one. I don't care what you do, who you are. No one gets my cell phone number. It's very rare, except for friends. This is not a way to get a hold of me. Why? Because I chose to make it this way. Anyway, so I'm spending time on this because accessibility is a big thing, and you can manipulate accessibility points to you. They're 100% within your control. All right. I want you to think about the movie Hitch. If you've never watched it, it's with Will Smith. He helps guy get a chance with a woman they love. Not in a sleazy, slimy way like, overnight stand and bye-bye. But in a way like, look, I love this woman. I want to be with her the rest of my life. And she doesn't even know I exist. How do I become visible? And he helps them do that supposedly. But the only way to work with Hitch is if you have Hitch's little black card. And the only way to get that card is if you know someone that's worked with Hitch somehow before. That's it. That's the only way. To everybody else, when you ask him what it is that he does, he will come up with whatever bullshit story is handy to him at the moment. And I frankly have done this for the last 18 years. If people ask what it is that I do on the spot when we meet, I'll say I'm a drug dealer. I'm a stand-up comedian. I deal with white powder. I'll make up whatever stuff to start the conversation with people. Now, if it's interesting, I might eventually tell them if it's someone that might be, that I might really support somehow. But other than that, I don't tell people. So you manipulate the points of accessibility. All right, I've got to speed up a little bit. This was my number 8, correct? All right, so number 9. I've got 2 number 9s. All right. Number 9, let's combine them together. It's association and association and celebrity. So what does that mean? When you start hanging out with other people that are known in your market or perceived as authorities and experts, by assumption and association, their credibility, trust, and positioning in the market is going to transfer to you. Which, by the way, I actually should have made this one number 1. Association should be number 1. Celebrity is kind of separate. Celebrity is if you get featured in media, if you get written in magazines. That's celebrity, right? If you use it the right way, it's got long-staying potential. So if you get featured in prominent news, like I got featured in Wall Street Journal a few years back, man, I'm still milking it today, and this was a number of years ago. But this was one of those legitimate features, meaning I didn't pay for it. I was legitimately sourced by a reporter, featured, quoted, the whole 9 yards, right? That's got staying power. To this day, I have a printout and a quote, and I can use it to impress clients. Look, I was written in Wall Street Journal. All right. Number 10, brand. Brand as how most people misconceive it. Meaning, I've got a fancy logo. I've got, brochures. I've got a branded website. Now, what on earth does that mean? That you came up with the right colors and a few words? Colors and words don't mean shit to people unless they're somehow translated into their experience with you. So everything that I've shared with you, all the previous 9 points, that's actually what contributes to your brand. So when you're starting out, I got two words of advice for you. If you're starting out, forget about trying to brand yourself. If you're trying to brand yourself before you try to help people and make money, you're an idiot. Number 2, if you're a branding expert, and I've got a few of you here listening, stop chasing freaking newbies in business. Number 1, they're the worst clients for you. And number 2, they don't need you. All right? Who needs you is people like me. I could use help with my brand. Why? Because I've got 18 years of shit that I've created that I never gave conscious thought, like how do we actually package it in a really consistent way that when someone just thinks about marketing mentors or the Urbanski guy, they get warm and fuzzy feeling and they go, oh my God, unapproachable genius who's going to help me get results fast. If you can help me brand that in an icon, man, I'll pay you a fortune. But the newbies, they're useless to you. You're useless to them. Plus, they don't have the fortune to pay you. Are you getting it? All right. So again, double-edged sword. If you're a newbie, don't focus on branding. If you're a branding expert, don't chase newbies. Please stop that madness. All right. So really quick, what it was: visibility, frequency, consistency, usefulness, uniqueness, price, results, number 7, accessibility, number 8, number 9 was association, with 9.5, celebrity, and number 10, all of that combined actually gives you an authority expert brand. All of those things that I mentioned, they can be done in about a week to a month. They can be manufactured in your business. It's crazy how easy it is. All right, I see a lot of comments here, so I don't know if I have time to check on them or not. All right, let's talk about the third point of my tutorial today, which is how to jumpstart your authority really, really quick. What can you do right now to appear to your market as authority? So, number 1, please do not follow the sleaze slimeball train of people who buy ad in Wall Street Journal and go like, as featured in Wall Street Journal. That is total bullshit and manipulation. You know what's even worse? If they actually have an article that they have written that they post in like, let's say entrepreneur.com or Inc. magazine online, right? If you are a contributor to Inc. magazine or Forbes online, by the way, Forbes Console, it's a freaking paid membership. So all of you who belong, congratulations, you were sold. Congratulations, all right? But don't use this as you were selected. You were not selected, all right? They created a membership because they wanted to make money off the growing movement of experts who, just like in the past, remember in the past there was the Who is booklets? Total bullshit. People paid a fortune to be included in Who is Who. And you know what it really was? It was a prospecting book who wanted to sell to Who is Who in the market. That's it, right? If they have money to pay $2,000 or $3,000 to be included in this book, great. What a great prospect to sell them other stuff. You realize you just became a prospect for somebody else to pay by paying to Forbes Console, $2,000 or $3,000 to be a member. How? You know what? I know people who have zero gaming credibility and they got chosen to be Forbes member. Are you kidding me? Really? So again, just realize this is all slimeball. So there is now a person who now publishes on Forbes site, Forbes.com or whatever the site is. And in the byline, they say, I'm a number 1 authority and blah, blah, blah. And then they have the audacity to go and post it on the website as Forbes, called by Forbes, Forbes magazine or Forbes organization, the number 1 authority. Forbes doesn't even know that they exist. You realize this? They essentially wrote on their own article on Forbes in their own byline. They called themselves something, and then they used the same byline on their own website, quoting that Forbes called them that. Again, I'm just giving you one example of how authority is manufactured. This, in my word, since all authority is manufactured, so is this, but this is like the slimiest and the lowest of possible approaches. Please don't do that. All right. Now, here's how you do build an authority. Number one, you've heard me say this before. You start by talking your walk, meaning you identify one area in your life or business that you are super freaking good at. You know, Nancy, I just see your comment here. And if you don't know Nancy Jutton, start getting to know her. You know, Nancy had an experience in her life that led her to do something like publish a book and led her to do some other things. And then she realized, man, I got some good results out of that. Maybe I should be sharing with others this process. But she first got the results, went through the process, got the results for herself, and then started teaching others. That is the way to build authority. All right. Number two, harness the power of one. Focus on one market. Even if it's a small market. So if I were to start today, I wouldn't be talking to expertpreneurs. I would focus on one specific thing. I would talk about, marketing consultants, or I would talk to business coaches, or, I would talk to motivational speakers only. I would focus on one market, as small as it gets, that's relevant to my experience. Second one is, all right, so the second one is one solution. I don't care that you can help them solve a dozen problems. Solve one of the problems. And the third, number one, is solve it in one way only. So one market, one solution, in one way only. If you add number two and number three, if you start serving 2 or 3 markets and you have 2 or 3 problems that you solve, and you are solving it in 2 or 3 different ways, you have just now exponentially increased the difficulty of positioning yourself as an authority on something. All right, it's going to take you so much longer. It's going to be so much harder because you made the whole thing much more complex. Trust me, I've made this mistake. The only reason I can get away with it because I've been at it for so many years. So because I've been at it, I've got momentum. I can spread the market a little bit broader, and I can have more than one solution in place. But even with that, I'm so careful with what I actually offer to the outside world. All right. Another way to jumpstart things very quick. You always hear me talk about it. Teach, teach, teach. Today, if I were to start my brand new business today, you better bet on it that for the next 90 days, I would be on Facebook Live teaching every single day. And I wouldn't be asking, where should I do it in a group, on my profile, on my page? The answer would be yes. And if that means 3 times a day on 3 different groups, yes. And if that means, 5-minute lesson and an hour lesson, yes. And if that means on a weekend and in the morning and from the shower and from the pool, yes. All right. Teach, teach, teach until you blow in your face, because that combined with, again, visibility, frequency, consistency, 90 days buys you a lot of time. Be a contrarian, another fast way to stand out. If, look, I call people out on the shit all the time. Does that mean my shit doesn't stink? No, it's just as bad as everybody else's. But if you want to get noticed, you have to stand for something, and you have to have something to stand against. You have to stand for something and also be able to stand against something. All right. So be a contrarian. And if you have zero case studies, so you're just getting started. Well, number one, you've got your own story, because again, you should talk your walk. Number two, look for quotes and statistics. I don't care what it is that you do, what method you want to teach people, what problem you want to solve. There are quotes and statistics that prove that your method is the thing to do. Always. That is the beauty about quotes and statistics, which I always laugh when people quote statistics, because you realize numbers, while they speak to people, they're very pliable. So if you give me one statistic that definitely proves something, I bet you I can find a dozen statistics that disprove it and prove something else is true. That is the beauty of it. This is the double-edged sword. I'm not telling you manipulate people. I'm telling you, if you wholeheartedly believe in something, find a way to prove it beyond the shadow of a doubt. And all right, I want to talk about Let's go to number 4 really quick. My last lesson. This is the longest that I've done in a long time. I apologize. I should have kept it shorter. I got a little verbose here. So, if you're starting out and you have this mental game, it's like, who am I? Like when I first started, look, it took me almost 2 years to start putting myself aggressively in the spotlight, as in leveraged one too many. I knew the methods, but instead I chose to do one-on-one and networking and kind of play the game smaller. Why? Because I thought to myself, what if I'm actually not as good as I think I am? What if my experience doesn't count for as much as I think I do? Well, I don't speak English well. I don't have a good hairstyle. I don't wear three-piece suits with ties. I don't wear gold rings and Rolexes. Man, all of that counts me out for success coach, right? That's a must be. When I was starting out, I was also thinking, look, I don't have a PhD in psychology or human behavior or marketing or sales. In fact, I never went to college. I don't have a published book. Let's see what else I don't have. Oh, I don't have 20 years of experience that this other marketing guru has. So what makes me qualified to do my own event, to do my own broadcast, to write my own book? About what? Right? Until I got through my thick head that all I need to do is share with people what I have already accomplished and how I did it. And if I did it more than once, bang, I am now the king of the jungle. I've got a method. I've got all the credibility I need. All I need to do is find a few quotes, few statistics, and I am golden. And as people come along, I better work my ass off to help them create the results that I promise, so therefore I can start adding case studies and testimonials. That's it. You don't need any of that to start with. I hope you are getting this. Now, if you've been at it for a long time like me, this is where the mischievousness and the hideousness and the deviousness of this whole thing comes into play. I hope you appreciate it. The best way to stand out in a crowded market, I'm going to totally out myself. I don't know if I even should be doing this. I haven't cleared it with Bo. Most people never think about what I'm about to share with you. This is really, if you will immediately see it everywhere, typically from people that have been in business for a few years. So what you will see experts do is poo-poo newcomers and poo-poo how the industry is going down in flames and how all the newcomers are ruining it because they're not qualified or they're doing things the wrong way. That's all it really takes. You just need to start sharing these messages, and it automatically is assumed that you are doing things above what everybody else does. That is how hideous it is, and how we are wired to just give authority to things without necessarily exploring them in depth. All right? So if you are starting out, what you want to do is speak to your journey, speak to what you've created already, and disconnect yourself from watching any other guru or expert in your market except someone that's coaching you and mentoring you. That's the only person you're listening to. I'll give you an example. About 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I got really pissed. I was so mad because it seemed like overnight, since I was on Facebook, every single one of my graduates and friends and colleagues started doing what I do. I mean, it seemed like overnight, every single coach in the world, the entire 7 billion of coaches, because, everybody is a coach, all of a sudden started doing what I'm doing. It became frustrating. I said, I can't compete with this. This is ridiculous. I've got nothing. I'm finished. All right. And then magic happened. I got off Facebook. And today when people tell me, it's like, hey, are you seeing what so-and-so does? And I'm like, who is so-and-so? I know what you're talking about. You know what? I honestly think in the last year and a half, everybody that used to do what I do died of some mysterious disease. I don't see them. Do you know why? I never go to Facebook newsfeed. I don't watch ads. I don't watch competitors. I have no idea what they do, and I couldn't care less. My business is thriving. I do my own thing. I march to my own band, and I have no time to worry who else does what else do they do. Absolutely zero time for this. So that's the cure if you are newer. And if you're more established, it will work for you as well. And again, if you want to be a little more devious, there is legitimacy to speaking against false prophets and things that are just shady, like this buying advertising and featuring yourself as an expert, right? Quoting like Forbes said this about me. Forbes doesn't know you freaking exist. This is a made up bullshit. All right. However, you have to remember, I started somewhere too. I started with 0 clients and 0 credibility and 0 visibility. Every single expert today that makes 7 figures and 8 figures, it's written books and it's featured everywhere. They started just like everybody else with absolutely 0 things in place and they needed to manufacture that credibility and authority to get started, just like you have to do this. And now those ahead of you have vested interest to keep you where you are at and not chasing them too fast, because that just means they have to work so much harder to stay ahead. All right, there you have it. Usually a 30-minute lesson, today a 42-minute lesson. Number one, it's all about mindset. It's assigned. It's manufactured. All right. So if you have any hippie-jibbies and fraud factor syndromes and issues about becoming an authority, get over it. Just get over it. All right. Number two, we talked about 10 authority accelerators. You've got to go back and re-listen. I won't repeat all of them, but I'll give you the top three: visibility, frequency, and consistency. Number three, jumpstart ways to build your authority. Contrarian, be a contrarian. Teach. By the way, summits, still a great way. You associate yourself with all the rest of the experts, and their authority is assumptively transferred to you. And use quotes and use statistics because they're pliable and can be made to support your cause and your message. And finally, number four, realize if you're new, everybody else that's not new today was new just like you are at some point. All right. And if you established, just speak against the newbies and how ignorant they are and how to know jack what they're doing and ruining the industry and how you are better than that. And immediately that makes you somehow magically more of an authority. I don't know how, it just works. All right. So hopefully you were mildly entertained and marginally educated through this marketing teaching moment today. Kelsey, Nancy, Michelle, Isabel, Chiara, Lisa, so on, Sue, Clement, so good to see you here. Spring, so good to see you here. All right, for those of you who've got access to Action Coaching Call, switch to that, and I'll see you there in a moment. All right? To you in the Facebook group, next time.